You're welcome back to the Gavel. Now, just as South Africa's President Jacob Zuma was holding bilateral talks with President Buhari and also meeting with the National Assembly, a Nigerian association based in South Africa is asking the National Assembly to help spread the message of peace and acceptance between South Africans and Nigerians. Just on the heels of the visit of South African President Jacob Zuma to the National Assembly, members of a group, the Nigerian Union South Africa, have decried the ill treatments and victimizations Nigerians receive in South Africa. At a meeting with members of a Senate Committee on Diaspora, the president of the union said that while South Africans in Nigeria and their businesses were treated with respect and acceptance, Nigerians in South Africa are treated with disdain.
We want Nigeria and South Africa to work as brothers and sisters. We don't want a divided continent.
Speaking more on the matter, the Director of Policy and Operations of the union said that attacks on Nigerians and the businesses had started even before 1999.
It's been a systemic and endemic targeting of our people. How do we know this? Nigerians have been targeted if you're doing well. Nigerian businesses have been targeted if you're doing well. Make no mistake about it, this xenophobia does not have to do with someone just hating you because they just don't like you. No, it's because of where you're from.
The chairman of the committee promised to do whatever is within the power of the committee to ensure that adequate pressure is mounted on the South African government to curtail the discriminations.
These pieces of information that we are coming out, that we are coming by through you, are very worrying, very worrisome, and to say the least, demands urgent action by the Nigerian government in collaboration with the South African government. Let me say that even yesterday, when the South African president met with the National Assembly, he did mention the issue of xenophobia. But perhaps it wasn't enough to just mention it. Even though the government may have done some things to try to mitigate the problem. But to the extent that it continues to happen, and perhaps it's even on the upsurge, it means that more needs to be done.
It's been a trying week for Nigerians as we grapple with difficulties in buying fuel at petrol stations. The situation took a turn for the worse during the week as labor unions in the petroleum sector went on strike to protest plans by the federal government to unbundle the NNPC. The unions eventually suspended the industrial action after holding meetings with the NNPC Group Managing Director. However, the National Assembly's Committees on Petroleum invited the NNPC boss to explain the action by the leadership, which sparked the protest by labor unions. About a week ago, the NNPC Group Managing Director, Dr. Ibe Kachuku, announced the unbundling of the NNPC. His announcement was greeted with uneasiness and discontent in the oil and gas sector. Labor unions in the sector immediately downed tools, with unions in the NNPC embarking on a strike action almost crippling the downstream sector. The National Assembly has waded into the crisis. The Senate Committees on Petroleum and Gas are meeting with the Group Managing Director of the NNPC to understand why he took the decision to restructure the NNPC and the implications of his action.
Your own words, quoted, hopefully not in error, told the world that you are unbundling NNPC. And I think that's where this trouble began. Because unbundling connotes that you are separating the entities into autonomous and independent companies that will be separate from the NNPC. Of course, if that's what you did, you will have broken the law. So I think you have subsequently told the nation that what you did was restructuring.
We're putting some level of vigilance and independence in terms of operation, and they should run like proper companies for which they were registered. So, distinguished senators, I may well have been misunderstood, but what I committed to you here, both at the swearing-in and in various sessions that I've had here, is that it will not be business as usual, that we will run a profitable entity, that will create new ideas, that will create new challenges for people who are in the system, that will create new career paths for people, and will create accountability.
Lawmakers faulted the NNPC GMD for failing to consult with the National Assembly before embarking on the restructuring exercise.
I don't blame you for wanting to keep it within a small circle of people so that nobody will sabotage you. But if there's nobody that can be trusted in the National Assembly to be told, then something is wrong.
First, I apologize if we didn't consult enough. I told you why. But true, it is not true that we did not at all get the leadership involved. We may not have cascaded it down to certain levels, but we did.
Members of the committees then went into a closed-door meeting with the NNPC GMD. They had this to say afterwards.
We wanted to know how he arrived at what he did, but he clarified the issue that he was not unbundling NNPC because NNPC is an entity that was created by an act of the National Assembly, and nobody can touch it unless it comes back to the National Assembly for amendment. But having looked at what he did and the presentation he made to us, and having considered the welfare of the staff of NNPC and those working in the subsidiaries that were affected by the reorganization that he has done in this sector, we found out that, one, the staff will not be shortchanged, that no staff will be deprived of his employment. We also found out that he had not contravened the law because we were worried that he might be acting against the law. But having looked at the law with him, we found out that he did not contravene the law.
A joint committee of the House of Representatives also met with the NNPC GMD. He also tendered an apology to the lawmakers. The committees advised the NNPC Group Managing Director to continue to consult with industry stakeholders going forward to avoid pitfalls in the restructuring exercise in the future.
I did not unbundle. I administratively reorganized. I did not create collaborative and competing agencies with different reporting board levels. There's still one NNPC, there's still one GMD to whom all these facets report. It's the same thing as we've had. I have to apologize because I think where these gaps come from, and I do understand the upsets of some members of, I just finished my session in the Senate, of some members of the House, is the fact that they believe they were not taken along in the process so that they know what is going on. So that I take responsibility for, and I totally apologize for that. But I did not do it in vacuum also. I did take, as much as I could, some leaderships of both houses along as we review PIB, saying what we were doing, where we were headed. And I never got the indication that such an administrative change required some level of engagement that is now the object of focus. But obviously, you learn every day. So if I was to do this tomorrow, given the importance, I would certainly pay a lot of attention to that. So I totally apologize for that.